Everybody, welcome back. I'm the Strategy Professor, and today we're going to be starting a brand new Beastmen campaign with Khazrak. So, special thanks to Nico for sponsoring this. If you'd like to sponsor a campaign yourself, just email me at thestrategyprofessor@gmail.com. Let me know what you have in mind. It's just $3 an episode, minimum 10 episodes. I'm happy to play through whichever campaign you want. But please do email me first, just so I can let you know the timeline about how long it might take before I can start releasing episodes. Because sometimes I do get a little queue of these stacked up. Okay, and Nico also said that he really liked vampire counts. So I'm going to link in the upper right of this my Kimwar campaign for Immortal Empires. I think Kimwar is extremely powerful, and it's great for newer players to the game or newer players to vampire counts as well. I think Nico said he was relatively newer to the game, enjoyed the content. So Kimwar, super strong. I'm not sure if they've nerfed him in the zombies yet, but he's really good. Manfred's also pretty cool. He starts out in the desert if you want kind of more of a challenge and a different vibe. Or if you want the classic vampires, then you can still pick stuff like Isabella. Okay, let's go ahead and get in here. So I will say up front that Beastmen, I think, are a bit more of an advanced race, just because there are a lot of strategic decisions, and I'm going to go over some of those in the first episode, and then we will get some fights, I promise. But I always like to lay it out in the first episode or so, just some of the different choices you can make, some of the different considerations that I think could be strategically pretty strong. Okay, and they have reworked the Beastmen several times. They were one of the least popular original DLC. I think they were, the Elves and the Beastmen were the first DLC races. And they are one of the few remaining almost pure Horde races, because those are very punishing if you lose. It's basically like you get your capital sacked, you lose a lot of buildings. It's just absolutely devastating if you ever lose a fight, especially with your main army. So you have to win all the time. You have to pick your fights very well. They also have a lot of their units are, especially their entry-level units, are a bit on the weak side, like low armor flanking type of units. So sometimes you can't just do the pile up, you know, just infantry blob and just plow your way to victory. You actually have to get flanks and charge cycle and things like that. So it just requires a bit more APM, a bit more tactics than some of the other factions out there. But let's get in there and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so faction effects, you get minus 15% dread cost for all unit capacity upgrades. We'll talk about that. That's a very big perk. That's really nice. Evasion chance, 15%. Probably won't be trying to evade that much, but that might be relevant at some point where you can do kind of hit and run tactics. Ambush success chance, 15%. Now that is very, very relevant. So that's another huge perk. And these are both for every lord. Especially this ambush chance for all of your secondary lords is going to be big. Reduced bestial rage penalties and detection chance when you're hidden in camp. That's pretty good, especially the detection, being able to hide better. Vanguard deployment for bestigors, chariots, and poison attack for all ungors. These are all quite nice. The poison attack is effectively like 15% damage resist. So that's quite good, because we're going to be using a lot of ungors as well. So overall, he's a strong lord. He does get a chariot, which is pretty good. He's an okay fighter. I think Tarox is probably still the strongest one. If you're newer and you want to try the Beastmen out, he does start in a tougher area. I think overall he's going to have to face some more chaotic factions early, and he's going to have to face Dark Elves, which have a ton of like pretty good spears early on. He's still quite powerful, though, especially if you can win a lot. Morgor starts down in the desert. He's pretty good. It all just depends on how strong the magic is. I believe they nerfed Devolve, but I can't remember. And then this dude's okay as well in many ways. But Nico wanted to see Khazrak, and I do think that Khazrak is very strong and starts in a very interesting area. So let's get in there. As usual, we have very hard legendary. We'll go ahead and click on Ultimate Crisis Mode. I don't know if we're going to get that far, but let's go. Okay, so again, lots of moving parts with the Beastmen. I think they are one of the harder factions to optimize, just because you do have so many choices, some of which it's not always clear what you should be taking. I recommend the Skaven too, if you like this kind of faction that's ambush-based, tactical based with a lot of good decisions. I am doing a Throt campaign right now at the same time, so check that out. Maybe I'll link that at the end of the video. But if you like Beastmen, you might like Skaven too. They aren't a full-on Horde faction, but they do have Horde-like elements, especially Throt, with your ability... Sorry about that. I thought I had that muted. With your ability to recruit workshop units, your monster lab units across the map. Okay, but anyway, so the task at hand here. So your ultimate goal as Beastman is to get up to this, fill up this bar at the end, and you fill this bar up by creating a herd stone, which is like a zone where you gain a currency, this currency up top, by burning stuff, burning other towns in the region, in the surrounding areas where you make that herd stone, and winning battles in those areas. So you want to put a herd stone up where it's going to be surrounded by a bunch of other towns you can burn, and where you're going to be fighting a lot of units. So you just constantly want to be picking fights and trying to protect that herd stone too, because it is pretty vulnerable to attack while you're charging it up. And then you can do a ritual at the end to basically cash in all of the herd stone stuff. And then you don't get any more points that you can cash in that area, and you have to move on to another area. So it encourages you to aggressively just kind of burn everything in an area and progress forward. Now, as you move up with this, you unlock the ability to recruit different units. So you not only have to have the buildings with each lord to recruit these units, but you also have to have a certain level of this currency in order to be able to hire certain units. So I can't hire my tier 5 units until I get to Ruination level 5, for example. Now, we're probably going to get there before we have the buildings to actually recruit these things, but that is how it works. And then you get some other perks as well. As you see, you can get additional herd stones. I believe, now we'll see if they've changed this in Immortal Empires. It has been a while since I played Beastmen, but I believe you can get rid of a herd stone after you fully cashed it in and then go put up another one somewhere else without losing, after you've done the ritual, without losing your currency. Okay. So that's how the herd stones work. You also fight and raid to get Bestial Rage. So that's basically this bar, and they've changed it now to where I believe the only thing you get for that is Horde Growth, which allows you to move up your Horde chain. I'll show you that in a second, and build higher tech buildings effectively. So you just want this up as much as you can. If you haven't played Beastmen in a very long time, back in the day, this used to give you other bonuses. Kind of like it was very similar to the Greenskins. When you capped it out, you'd get a free army with your main army, and I believe you'd get extra stuff. I don't remember what it was, leadership or melee attack or whatever, something like that. But you also got the free army. But they got rid of that free army mechanic a long time ago and gave them all of these new mechanics instead. So it's pretty much just to get Horde Growth. So you want that capped out. Oh, you get more replenishment as well. Okay, so that's actually quite good if you cap it out up there. Okay, Bestial Rage, and then you get Dread, and you have Beast Paths. So, let me show you the building stuff we were just talking about. So basically, you need growth, and how hordes work, it's always 20 points to get one more growth, and it's completely linear. So with most normal factions that aren't horde factions, it requires more and more points of growth in order to get a higher level of stored up points. So for example, like your first 100 growth gives you 1 growth total when you finish it. Then I think it's like 300, then 600, then 1200. With this, it's 20 always to get a point. And so when it says 7, like, that seems like a lot, but it's much less than it would be with a lot of other factions. So you get that up. They changed it to where there's no penalty for getting diverse units. Back in the day, horde factions like Old School Chaos, Beastmen, you were penalized for diversifying your army. It would take you more growth to get all these extra buildings. That's not the case anymore. It's just growth to level up your main building, and then these no longer cost growth. It's just money, and it's a lot of money. So, like, your first building here is 4,000 gold, and you don't have ways to make a lot of money. Like, you don't have gold generating buildings at all, I don't think, anymore, which is another thing they got rid of from back in the day. You have stuff that gives you extra, like, post-battle income, but there's no way that you passively get income. The only way you get income is from winning battles, as far as I know. I mean, we'll see. Maybe Herdstones might be able to give you a little bit. I'm not sure. I don't think so, though. So you get a flat amount of gold from winning battles, and you spend that gold to build your buildings. Now, as part of that as well, your armies do not cost any gold upkeep. So this is particularly nice on Legendary. It was far more impactful in Warhammer 2 when you had that stacking 15% penalty for each additional army. That was a massive boon to the Beastmen. It's less so in Warhammer 3 because you don't have that. It's the stacking, I think, is like 4% upkeep. But nevertheless, it's still free units across the board. Now, the catch, though, is that you can only recruit a very small amount of elite units. So, if we look here, you'll have a stock of certain units. So we already have 2 Ungor Herd with shields. Those aren't even elite, but you can only have 2 with shields. You can get an infinite amount of Ungor Spearmen, Ungor Raiders, and Chaos Warhounds. But anything after that, there's a certain stock system, and you have to upgrade your stock in order to recruit more of that unit. So how do you get more of those? Well, that's where the Dread comes in. And Dread is another resource that you get from just basically doing aggressive things. From winning battles, burning buildings, raiding, all that kind of stuff, you get this. So you get the main currency from doing the same stuff, winning battles, burning stuff within your radius of your Herdstone, but you will also at the same time receive this Dread currency for doing the same stuff anywhere, regardless of whether it's a Herdstone region or not. And you have to do a ritual to lock in the Herdstone points, right? This, you don't have to do anything special. You just get them and can spend it whenever. Okay, so here's what you can spend your Dread on. First of all, unlocking units. So this is where a lot of your strategic choices come in. So you can get whatever it shows you here in these pictures for this cost. And I believe the cost goes up if you do more of the same unit. We will have to see, because it'll tell you what your current cap is. It might be flat, it might go up. Again, it's been a while since I've played through this campaign. I did research it for a couple of turns, but I'm trying to get this out relatively quickly. A quick turnaround for Nico. So 85, you can get spears and shields. This is probably not worth it. They are marginally better than basic Ungors, but you would be better spending your Dread elsewhere. Now for 127, you can get Razor Gore Herd, which I can show you some of these units, but basically these are very lightly armored, heavy armor piercing, big charge bonus dogs, effectively. But the downside of them is they have, or they can rampage. So anytime they get hit, no matter what, even if they're at full HP, you could completely lose control of them for some indeterminate amount of time. That is really, really annoying, especially on a unit that typically you want to be charge cycling. So you want to get them into combat, get that charge bonus, and then after 5 or 10 seconds, you run away with something, then you charge back in, you get the charge bonus again for 5 or 10 seconds, you go out, you go back in. That's what charge cycling is. It's hard to do that with these guys because they go berserk pretty often. So they are decent. They look great for their stats and just how cheap they are in terms of Dread, but there is that problem to them. And you get Chaos Warhounds with poison, obviously better than normal hounds, but again, not that much better. So this is questionable, but could be good sometimes. It is very cheap, though. 127 is quite cheap for these pigs, even not including the hounds. So we'll probably end up getting some of them. Then you have these Harpies and Feral Manticores, quite a bit more expensive, 100 more. Harpies in general are almost always disappointing. Their stat line looks great, but for some reason they just always die. But having some kind of flying units, especially on sieges, so that you can get around and harass ranged units, get, you know, flanking charges from different angles. They are useful sometimes, but they are very frail. Now, the fact that you can replace them for free, though, if you have that building, and I believe they only take 1 turn to build, is really nice, because that means after almost any fight, whenever you take a town, you're probably going to be able to recruit these back, I believe. you can get them back quickly for free. So that part is nice. The Manticore is pretty good. Single entity, monstrous unit. Not as strong as something like a dragon, but pretty good at dueling enemy lords. It does cause at least fear. I don't believe it causes terror. It might. We can look in a second. But it's a pretty good unit overall. It is tier 3 though, so it takes a little while to get to this. And these do come from the same building chains, so that is nice. Then we have the chariots. Now chariots, historically, I'm not a big fan of, because I would just rather have large monstrous units or cav or whatever. But they are particularly good for Beastmen. It's one of the main themes of them. They are heavily armored. There aren't that many Beastmen units that have heavy armor. They obviously have a huge charge bonus. They weigh a lot. They knock stuff over. So the chariots are pretty good, and especially because you can get them at a low level. These Tuskor chariots are tier 2, so that is very handy. And then the Razor Gore is tier 3. Does more damage, more charge bonus, all that stuff. So this one's pretty respectable. Now this is one that is quite good, and they've buffed this a lot, right? So these Centaurs are lightly armored, almost skirmisher cav, but they do have a bigger charge bonus than a lot of skirmisher cav. I believe they have higher base stats than a lot of other skirmisher cav, and they have perfect vigor, which means they never get tired. So you can run and chase stuff down, you know, indefinitely, charge cycle indefinitely, and they do have a great weapons, which is an armor-piercing version, available at tier 2. So that's really good to have an armor-piercing unit with a pretty heavy charge bonus that has perfect vigor. Is quite strong. And you get 3 of them. So just one purchase here for 300, you get 3 different units. That is nice. Now the throwing axes are tier 3, but these other 2 are tier 2. These used to be tier 3 units, and I believe the great weapons used to be a tier 4 unit, maybe even tier 5. It was much higher. Now it should not have ever been tier 4 or tier 5, but it was. I think it would be appropriate at tier 3 balance-wise, but it's actually tier 2. So I'm eager to try these out. We haven't used them much in the past because they're just a little underwhelming, but I think they could be quite good. There's some decent upgrades for them too with your technologies and lord skills. So this is definitely something that you want to consider quite a bit. Gourd herds. So these are stronger ungors. They definitely are better. You get 2 of them, so it's kind of a bargain. But at the end of the day, they're still lightly armored, frontline, you know, flanking type of units. I think it's underwhelming for 340. You do get buffs for them with Khazrak, so they're alright, but they're not really business units, as I like to say. They're not going to be good tactical units that are going to rack up a lot of kills for you. They're just kind of going to be in the mix. So I think they're underwhelming for their cost. Now, this is another one. This is a really, really good bargain, in my opinion, are the Giants and the Chaos Spawns. Now, some of the other lords have different bonuses for these, especially the Chaos Spawn guy gets a lot of bonuses for spawn. But this is a great bargain because these are business units. They will get a lot of kills, especially the spawn. Very good against infantry, unbreakable unit. Giants are a lot better than they used to be. They've given them more damage. They have like 700 damage now, and I believe they have a baseline 15% missile resist. They still have a ton of HP, and they're tier 3. So that's very nice. The spawn are also tier 3. So these do come from different building chains, which is pretty obnoxious. The Giants have their own building chain. So that is annoying. But this is a very good bargain for 382, that you get 2 pretty high-end business monstrous units. These can also break doors, which is really important. A lot of the Beastmen struggle with sieges. None of these previous units can break down doors, and the Giants can even break walls. So if you need extra surface area, Giants can help you out there. So this is a great bargain. Bestigor Herd. These are armored, pretty strong infantry units. You only get 1 of them for 425 though. They're good, but I would still rather have 2 of these than 1 of these most of the time. Now the Minotaurs are one of the headliner units for Beastmen overall. Most of these are tier 3 you can get. I believe the shields might be tier 4, but especially the great weapons at tier 3. These are really nice because they do bonus damage versus large. A lot of bonus damage versus large. So once the Empire starts getting Empire Knights, and once the enemy lords start getting on horseback and things like that, these things can really tear them up. So they're still quite good against infantry because they're very heavily armored, have a huge charge bonus, weigh a lot. So they're still going to be able to tear up infantry. They don't have the bonus versus infantry that normal Minotaurs do, but they're still pretty good. So these are good. I would much rather have one of these than one of these, because these are business units. They do charge. They are going to rack up a lot of kills. Okay, and then these are obviously quite good, but they're all tier 5. You got the Jabberslythe, dragon-esque type of unit, weaker than other dragons, but has some good utility to it. Cygor is a monstrous artillery piece, which is quite good in a lot of situations. And the Gorgon is your super heavy-duty anti-large unit, so great against lords, dragons, all that kind of stuff. So these are very good when you get to them, but it's going to be a long time when you get to them. So just to recap, early game, I would, you know, the ones that I would really look at are the pigs, the Centigores, and this monstrous package with giants and spawn. I think you can get those in the early to mid game pretty comfortably, and I think they're quite good. The other stuff is okay, but just not quite as impressive. These pigs right here, once you get the upgrades for 127, I mean, that's pretty good. Like, you can get 2.5, 2 1/3 of these. So you're getting 4 units, but instead of 3. But I still think these are probably just gonna be better in a lot of situations. Okay, let's go ahead and get a fight in here, and then I'll explain some of those other options, because I do want to break it up a little bit. You start off with Death Magic, which is one of the worst magics for Beastmen. I'll just show you that real quick since I mentioned it. Basically, you have Spirit Leech, which is okay against enemy lords. You have Doom and Darkness, which is okay. It does help you break enemy units, and it's very good if they break if you're Beastmen, because you have a lot of fast units that can run them down and kill them before they can rally. Soul Blight, pretty good. Lowers armor, great against entry-level infantry from Empire and things like that that aren't going to have much more than 30 armor. Purple Sun is okay as a Vortex. It does good damage, but it moves, and it moves pretty quickly. So it's just not that reliable in a lot of situations compared to other Vortex spells, newer age Vortex spells. The old school ones from like the original Warhammer all have that random movement, and they're just not as reliable. Now this is extremely good, but it's very expensive. This is great at knocking out elite high-end units that they might have, right? So like their infantry or elite cav, things like that. These are going to be quite good. So it's not horrible, but it's not great. Beast Magic is really where you want to be. Flock of Doom is incredibly powerful. They've nerfed it over time, but it's still just insane because it does not have a cap. You can hit 3 or 4 units with this, especially in a siege where they're all clumped up around the door when you're trying to get in. This just does insane damage. If you upgrade it, then it does 14 seconds of that. You're looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of like 1,400 damage. Is a lot that can hit like 4 different units. So you're talking like 5, 6, 7,000 damage on a single cast spell that costs 12. So incredibly powerful. Definitely in the running for best spell in the game. Certainly best early game spell. Whistlin's Wide Form, pretty good. Gives armor to your units. Your units don't have that much armor to begin with. It's extremely cheap, and even the upgraded version is still quite cheap at 8. Doesn't last very long, but pretty decent. Ember Spear kind of sucks. Don't worry about that. Pan's Impenetrable Belt, really good defense. Helps your Ungors hold the line. It can affect all of your units if they're all stacked up. Decent. Probably, honestly, won't use it a lot. This Curse, they have improved over time, so 35 ranged. You can put this on a whole bunch of enemies at once. Minus melee defense, melee attack, all kinds of good stuff. And it can even go up to 55 range. So that's definitely going to be able to hit most of their infantry line. So that's quite good. And then you can get Manticores, which are great for dueling enemy lords, harassing ranged units, taking out artillery. It's got a lot of utility to it. So Beastmen, you know, you're going to be spamming Flock of Doom 90% of the time, especially in the early game. But you do have some utility with the transformation and all that. Now, with War of the Wild, I'm not sure. Devolve historically has been really OP. It does a lot of damage. So especially Devolve combined with Flock of Doom just completely eradicates infantry. Now, it says it still does damage, but it does not tell you how much damage up over here. And I know in the past, they got rid of the damage component and just made it like a curse instead. So I'm not sure where it is. It's inconsistent. I think when Immortal Empires released, I think I remember seeing Legend doing something OP with Devolve, like running around casting on units. there are not units actually dying there. So somewhere there's a tooltip error here. Either it does damage and they're not saying what it does, or it does not do damage and they just accidentally left that in there. So we'll see. Even if it doesn't do damage, it's still pretty good at minus 24 melee attack, minus 8 leadership. It is expensive if it doesn't do damage for that, but it's still pretty good. Okay, I don't know. We'll have to see. If this does damage, this could be your best option, potentially, instead of Beast Magic. But we know Beast Magic is good, like 100%. Bray Scream is pretty good for a breath spell. It's not insane. It's alright. Savage Dominion, you get a Cygor for free, which is good. Probably not as useful in a lot of situations as the Manticore. It is a stronger unit overall, but just how you're going to be using it tactically, I don't know. It's still really good. They're both good. And then this Mantle of Gork is okay, but it only targets a single unit. Great to put on, like, Minotaurs or something. But, you want to try to get to Beast Magic if you can, I believe. It's still the play. Okay, so let's go ahead and combine this guy here. And then you have Ambush on attack. And it looks like you do not get the penalty to that. I noticed that Throt does get minus 15% ambush chance. I don't know if that's all Skaven these days, but it looks like the Beastmen do not. So, ambush success chance is 95% in Dense Forest, which is pretty insane. So we should get an ambush on him. Yeah. Says close victory. We're going to slaughter him. What you really want to watch out for with elves are their elite archers, especially in the early game. These Way Watchers are insanely strong, so we have to neutralize those. But if we neutralize the Way Watchers, they're done. The spears are, you know, obviously pretty good against your Minotaurs and your Ungors, but these Bestigors will just tear spears up. And your Ungors do a pretty good job of it too. Okay, so Way Watchers are invisible, so you gotta be aware of that. Usually the invisible units and the archers in general are placed at the back. We want to try to make sure they don't escape, because if they do get to this escape zone, then they will get to run. So I think we just want to tie up their spears. And then we can just use Khazrak to go duel their lord. Duel. I mean, we fight him with Khazrak, and we can cast Spirit Leech on him and attack him with maybe our wizard when they get a bit lower. Now, pressing this lock button means they'll stay in that formation, so that's kind of a trick, is you can lock and then right-click, and they'll just kind of charge forward in that block. And then you can micro them how you want, but that's just kind of a good place to initially set up. Okay, and then we'll kind of make these our 4 group. I guess we could probably be smarter just to come over here. Make this a 5er. Now, Beastmen in general are lightly armored, they're very fast, and they have high charge bonus. So that's, you know, kind of how you want to play them. Very, very tricky to siege with them, which we'll see when we get to sieges, but... Okay, yeah, so we just absolutely annihilate the archers. If you just get a hold of them, you just cannot let them run. They might rally back, so we gotta be careful. Way Watchers are historically one of the best archers in the game. Not sure if that's still the case, probably. So, yeah, you definitely want to neutralize those. So yeah, I mean, if you get ambushes, you know, that's exactly how the Beastmen want to play. This way Watchers are going to get away, which is lame. We might have to chase him. Alright, let's stop that, just so we don't get friendly fire. Again, we might have to fight these guys again, so we just want to try to run them down. So Beastmen are pretty cool because they just have a pretty good like mix of a lot of different units. They don't have much in the way of. I think we're gonna get him. These are not good against like infantry blobs like that. Ideally, just the way that like the spell is coded, it just does a lot to like single entity units, but not much to other types of units. Well, quite a few of them got away, which is not amazing for us, but yeah, we can run them down and kill them again. So yeah, I said Nico said he was, you know, thinking about vampire counts. I think vampire counts are similar in some ways, but also very different. I think they do a great job in the game of making factions feel unique. Like there really aren't that many, even though it might that are very similar. Even though it might be like, okay, there's, you know, 3 different kinds of elves, for example. Right, you got your wood elves, your high elves, your dark elves. They are just very, very different. It's like, yeah, they're skinny, they got the ears and stuff, but like their campaign mechanics, the kinds of roster they field. I mean, obviously all elves are gonna have good archers, right? That's just an elf thing. But other than that, they do feel very different. So vampire counts. So here's a choice. Sorry, let me just mention this. Often is that you'll get favors, so you can get additional money after you win a battle, but it's going to cost you bestial rage. And I believe. Okay, it says when you get to 80, you get a lot more. So I think we just want to go to 80. You can also get replenishment if you need that. How much rage did we get for this fight? So we got 18 though. So we're going to 66. So this will take us down to 62. It looks like they're probably going to run because he didn't fall over. So I think I can sacrifice and get more rage after the next one to counter this. I'm not sure about the value proposition here. I know we're not going to be able to probably. I don't think we'll be able to get max rage by next turn to fight the elves. It doesn't do anything in combat. That's basically effectively costing us 8 bestial rage to get 500 gold. And we got 1,700 here. I guess we'll just do this. That preservation talisman is... Oh, okay, he did die. Alright. Now, you gotta be careful here, too. I made this mistake on my practice turn. It does not say how much it takes to go into encampment stance here. It just says the movement penalty is 10%. So it's gonna cost you less to move, but that's also how much it costs to go into that stance. So you get 15% extra ambush, which is nuts. That's basically 100%. Unless they have modifiers that drop it lower. But you really need to make sure you go into this stance a lot of times. It's only 1 bestial rage. I think with other lords it might be 3, -3. But that does give you replenishment, and that's the only way you can hire and build buildings. So I want the dogs. These are like very good units in the early game. Just any sort of dog against factions that are going to have archers. So, which is like all of Empire, elves, like it's just really good. And especially for running down fleeing units, it's just very, very nice to have dogs. You don't want a lot of them, but just like 1 or 2. Okay, so we want that, and then we want to do this building. 20 dread per turn adds up pretty quickly. So that's very nice. You definitely want that. Here are some of the units I was talking about just really quickly. Here are the pigs. This is the biggest question mark for me. Like, how do I want to get these and, like, how much? Now, you'll notice, like, it says unlocks recruitment of these, but it does not give you any extra, like, ability to actually recruit them. So I can buy this giant thing if I want to, but I'm not going to be able to recruit any giants until I reach that threshold with the main currency, and unless I use Dread to purchase additional capacity to hire these things. So the Centaurs are all kind of right here with the Chariots. You get those at tier 2. You get the Tuskar at tier 1. So again, these aren't insane, but the fact that it has armor and has anti-infantry is alright. And the pigs, okay armor, melee defense is obviously really low, which wouldn't typically be like a huge problem for most cav, because you can just charge cycle. You don't want to keep them in there for very long anyways. But because they go berserk, they have this rampage, that's a problem. So, I don't know. They do a lot of damage, a lot of armor-piercing damage, and they're very cheap at tier 2, and there are several upgrades for them. So, we'll try them out and see what we think. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Oh, the Minotaurs are great weapons, are tier 4. Okay, my bad. I thought they were tier 3. But yeah, they do give 28 bonus versus large. So these will clap some cavalry. So that's going to be our answer to Empire Knights. Okay. Well, we've got that. We're hiring dogs. What else do we have here? Okay. Now, here we have to decide. You do get 10% campaign movement range instead of just the 5 that you get with most factions with this, which is good. But having that extra 5 leadership is really nice, because the Ungors do not have very high leadership early on. I'm on the fence about this red tree. Like, again, 6 leadership and 6 defense is perfect. For chafe units, like, that's the best 2 stats you could have. For units that are just supposed to sit there and hold the line while your business units take care of business. So, and that does scale into Gore Herd and Best of Gore Herd. So, it's not insane, but it's like just good enough. And we're going to have a lot of Ungors because we just can't recruit a lot of business units. So, like, it's just good enough where it might be worth considering. The blue tree, rather, is where you want to be most of the time with most factions on Legendary. So, you get the movement. We get extra money from raising a little bit, not a lot. We're probably not going to be raiding a ton, but we will be raiding more than we would with a lot of factions. Post-battle loot, chance of stealing items is very good. These two are bad, but whatever. You don't have to spend those. 30% replenishment for your Lord is great. Wound recovery time is cool, but you never want to get wounded as Beastmen, especially with your Legendary Lord. Lightning Strike, obviously extremely powerful. You want that, you know, every Lord all the time. And Horde recruitment capacity 3 is insanely good because your units are free to recruit and you only start off with 2 recruitment slots. So having 3 more is huge. That's almost like free max replenishment after every fight with your base Ungor units. Because you just hire them again. Yeah, you're losing the chevrons if you do that potentially, but who cares? They're junk unit anyways. And then 10% ambush is pretty good later on. This is pretty good too. +1 bestial rage, campaign movement range, and then enemy hero success chance. So you have lots of good things. And then in here, again, this one's pretty good in the red tree. And then I believe this Raucous Host could be pretty good too, because we'll have to see how good the Centaurs are. But you have that movement speed, which is particularly good on them because they don't get tired, so you're going to get full value out of that speed the entire battle. Weapon strength and charge bonus. So triple buff for your Centaurs and your Chariots. So that is pretty good. And then, like, freakish mutations can be good, especially later on into the game. You have weapon strength and melee attack for spawns, giants, so that's kind of your mid-game units. And then your Jabberslythe and Gorgons later. So that's pretty good too. So you have a nice, kind of well-rounded red tree for the most part. That one kind of sucks, Beast Lords. And this one is not that great either. But you've got at least 3, like, pretty good red ones. And this is just for Minotaurs, which are going to be somewhat limited, but they're still alright. And then you have some pretty good buffs to a variety of units with that too. But we'll talk about that when we get closer. Okay, so that's it there. Dread. Don't want to buy anything yet. There's not much diplomacy, so if you don't like doing diplomacy with people, this is the faction for you if you just want to fight all the time. And then Challenges of the Gods. Now, this is kind of cool. You have to accomplish different things to get these techs. So, Herdstone, this is the one you're going to start with most of the time. This is win 5 ambush battles. This is win 5 siege battles. And then down here you have more colorful things. 5 successful hero actions. Hero action cost minus 50% is pretty massive. 3 characters rank 15. Good. It's going to take a while. 4 heroes in your army. Interesting. Win 4 battles in a single turn. So they kind of have these little fun things you can try to do. Summon 10 units in the same battle. There are quite a few fun things. And we'll go over the rest of the Dread stuff next turn. But for now, let's make sure we get at least a couple more fights in here. So yeah, I think I'm going to start red. Because I want that leadership. And then just getting Spirit Leech stuff. You can eventually get a Razor Gore Chariot, which turns him into a decent fighter. At least against Chafe Infantry. Okay. I think that's good. Hopefully I'm not forgetting anything. So you can buy units with Dread. You can also buy upgrades for Herdstones, which I'll show you the Herdstone we get here in a second. You can also buy upgrades for Lords that you hire. So Lords and Heroes, you can unlock all of the other Legendary Lords for 1200, so they are very expensive. You can get just basic Lords for free if you have army unit recruitment capacity. But picking up some of these late game or later in the game could be really nice. Obviously, they're cool. They're Legendary Lords, but it's a very steep opportunity cost. If you want extra heroes, these are here, so 500. All of their heroes are pretty good. The Shaman getting the Beast Magic is going to be clutch, and then the Gorbel is very good. I believe it gives bonuses, especially to other... I think it might just be all of your units get like extra melee attack and stuff. They're really strong. I was going to say maybe just the Minotaurs, but I think it's all units. And then you get Herdstones at different levels, so level 2, level 3, which has different perks. A stronger garrison being the biggest one, but there are some other perks too. And then you get extra horde buildings. So you get kind of free buildings anytime you make a new lord, which is pretty cool. But expensive. Extra army capacity, you know, 150, which is good. Which, this is always going to be nice because remember, like, your units are free. So, free to hire and free upkeep. So this is just, you know, more power. Now, you're not going to get a lot of benefit unless you're fighting in Herdstone regions, though. So that's something to keep track of. And then your heroes get recruited and lords at a higher rank. So hiring something in at, like, 15 is obviously going to be incredibly powerful at some point in the game. But items, now you can spend cash on these. So in addition to your buildings, you can get these items. I think you can get an unlimited amount of these to give to your different lords, but they are pretty expensive. This Aura of Madness is quite good. It gives extra damage. Now, that's only if units get injured down below a certain threshold. And I believe this is something that Jabberslights have normally. But, nevertheless, quite strong at finishing off units. You get the ability to summon some free Cygors in battle, so that one's quite good. Distorted Reality, -5 melee attack for the enemy is quite good. So there are some of these, especially the ones that give some of those like aura bonuses are good. Blood Frenzy. Okay. And then Banner of Gork just for Minotaurs. Alright, let's go ahead and fight these elves. Now, this fight is somewhat annoying. We should be able to win this, but the Way Watchers are a problem.
Khazrak.
Alright, let's go. Yeah, we do have 100% ambush in the forest right now, so... But the big challenge with Beastmen is going to be sieges. Now, fortunately, the elves do not have walls, so that's good. And there are some things you can do, you can get with the Beastmen that will help you out. There's a tier 3 building you can get that gives you 1 use of Shatterstone, which basically, I think, right at the start of the fight just allows you to break a wall. So that's very helpful. So you can go ahead and start. There's a couple of different ways you can do that. You can increase the surface area in one place near the doors. You can start going in and fighting and then crack down the door with things like Minotaurs. Or you can stack up all of your like infantry type of units in one place. Now I want to come in over here. The most dangerous part of this whole map is right here in the middle because it's not showing you that, which is annoying. But they can put barricades right here. And what they'll do with like their Way Watchers or other archers is they'll just dance around these barricades. So if you come in this way, they'll run over here. If you try to come in this way, they'll just run over here. And it's extremely obnoxious because those barricades have a lot of HP and the elves do a lot of damage. So they're just sitting there just firing on you the whole time with the barricades. So I'm going to try coming in over here, running up, knocking that out. Now that, I don't know, they might have barricades here too. I'm not sure. It's looking like maybe they do. So that's going to be similarly annoying if they just stack up right there. So I wonder, maybe the best thing then is just to come in right here, just ignore this, and run over here and take this ASAP, and then it'll destroy those. We can maybe use the dogs to come over here and harass them. Are these, can these hide? Well, let's just stack everything up over here. Now, the only thing I believe that can't Vanguard are the Minotaurs and the Bray. Okay, so I want to try this out where we just run straight for that to knock out those barricades, and then we can use the dogs or whatever. And the Minotaurs, potentially, too. Yeah, I kind of like that idea. The dogs are probably enough. The Minotaurs are going to be late, though, either way to the party. Yeah, let's just have the Minotaurs come in this way.
Beastmen. Khazrak.
Okay, these can come over here. Maybe just provide some cover for the dogs, because those Ungors aren't like that particularly useful. They have... Oh, no, not War Dancers. Nope. We could shoot at the War Dancers. Sorry, I'm choked off here. Oof. Alright, I need to get up there. Oof. Yeah, we're kind of getting clapped here. Okay, yeah, that was bad. I hadn't tried going in that way before. But yeah, we have to get over here and neutralize. Where are the Way Watchers? Are these... Those are Glade Guard. Alright, we gotta try to just push through here. Where are these? Glade Guard. Let's see if we can get up there and just get that.
Beastmen.
Oh, there's those Way Watchers. Damn it, they're sitting right on that thing again. That's so obnoxious.
Ungors. Shrikor Munie. Akam Shai. Fas. Parakawan. Quipzak. Ango. Pass.
Dude, I swear to God, like, these barriers are so obnoxious. Alright, we take this yet? Nice, okay. Let's see if we can come down here and take this then. Dude, are we hitting them? Ah! This freaking thing makes me want to pull my hair out. Those, because they can sit on the freaking barrier. No, it's not attacking. Well, now it is. It sort of is. Alright. Yeah, they're coming off of it for some reason. Alright, where's dude? Did dude run away? Or die? Let's see. So yeah, definitely not my cleanest cleanest fight of all time for sure. But I think it'll be good enough.
Beastmen! Uncles! Ach! Now Bob!
Wait, what? Oh my gosh, I forgot to have actual towers saved. Okay, so let's come down here. Here. They killed my chariot? They probably are going to. You should be able to attack these things, I think. I don't know. It's so obnoxious. Now, I did say these are not good versus infantry, but I think they should have to commit to one side of the barrier or the other. Like, you should not be able to just sit on top of this and have neither side, like, able to attack you. Okay, thank God. The barriers are just, like, in so many ways, like, infinitely more frustrating than the towers. Okay, I do not want this to die. So we're gonna try to have these chill over here. We've kind of lost our charge bonus. Yeah, this is really not good. Like, you don't want these guys to be able to just stack here and defend. Like, you want to be able to, like, get flanks. Okay, they're all done. Okay, so... yeah, again, not great. I didn't realize they had other, like, barricades they could put up. So I guess there's just no good way to do it. I mean, it kind of makes sense, right? Like, the elves, they don't have walls. So they gotta have, you gotta have something. Oh, I think he had Troll Hide. Oh, 0.2, that's pretty huge. Okay, so we have to do a Herdstone here, so we need a Herdstone up. Okay, and you do get a little bit of extra movement if you burn, which is great, because I believe that will allow you to go into and camp after you burn in a lot of situations. Oh, dang. Or you get replenishment, horde growth. That's nice. I mean, obviously we're not going to use that here, but you don't get as much money. Moderate amount of movement. Okay. So some good strategic choices. Okay, so let's do a Herdstone. Okay, so we want to get that. Now we have 4 devastation. So whenever we cash this in, we'll get this number. And then when you scroll out a little bit, and you just click, you can see what each region is worth. And the more developed it is, the more it's, like, worth. So all of these things that have numbers next to them are amounts I could get. So we have to have at least 10 to cash it in. And they won't be able to colonize any of the places that you burned unless they take out the Herdstone first. Okay, so we can get quite a bit. I think what is the first, it's like 25. So getting to like 25 is good. Then that'll let you get the chariots and the Centigores if you want. But okay, so I believe we get some, yeah, pretty good replenishment. I want to make sure I put this Troll Hide. Oh, nice. Oh, they're different pieces of armor, too. Oh, that's perfect. We got kind of lucky with those, to be honest. This looks extremely good. That's basically double regeneration with extra stuff. Melee attack, weapons, and then the 16% ward save is huge, too. Okay. So now we've got to kind of choose. Do we want to get this, like, red tree? That's additional charge bonus, missile resist for chariots and Centigores, basically, and like hounds. Okay, those are like monsters. That's really good for monsters. 15% missile resist and 5 and plus 12. So one of these things up here, you can also get more missile resist, 10%. So that'd be 25% missile resist on like giants. And then they naturally have 15, so you'd have 40% missile resist on giants, if you wanted to play it that way. Or do we just go down here? They used to have something that gave growth, I think, but they don't have that anymore. I guess Blessed by Evil. Okay, I think we'll start with movement for sure. It feels turbo greedy anytime you're playing one of these evil factions where you're surrounded by people not to get Lightning Strike, just in case, like, your ambush doesn't work. It looks like ambush is quite strong. We are going to need a lot of money to build these buildings. That is quite nice, though. Like, their melee defense is pretty garbage early. 1 point would give us 4 melee defense. We have a lot of replenishments. I'm not sure how much, especially now that we have the regeneration, how much we're going to need that. Alright, so what it comes down to is how hard are these sieges going to be? If the sieges are pretty challenging, then I think this is where we need to be. If we're just going to be running over everything and we just want, like, maximum greed, I think this is better. So, I think early on we'll go with this. Usually I do the blue tree, but this is like so nice. It's like such a high percentage increase for these entry level units. 12 bonus versus large is pretty good for a spear unit. Okay, and then this dude. Causing terror is handy. Now this gives everybody magical attacks, and it lasts 32 seconds and gives 8 leadership. I mean, maybe I'm underestimating that. We don't have a ton of terror-causing units that we have access to early on. Giants at tier 3, I think. So giving your whole squad terror, we can just terror bomb. Which is basically, that used to be a multiplayer thing where you could pretty much Doom and Darkness, drop their leadership by 16, and then just cast terror and a lot of units will run. Now on Legendary, they're going to be a little bit more resilient to that. But Doom and Darkness. Overcast still is going to drop all their leadership by quite a lot. Okay. Okay, so what these herdstones do is they allow you to buy some of this extra stuff if you want. Okay, I realize we're pretty much at time. Horde recruitment capacity, a little bit more. Okay, and this means any army in here can recruit these things. Now, it does not give, and it has better garrison. So, a couple of gore herds, 2 bestigores, spearmen, centigores, not that great. But you basically get these for free. So, pretty much it's going to allow everybody to hire giants, chaos spawn, and feral manticores. And Tuskor chariots, gore herds, harpies. This is very nice. Yeah, I think you want to try to get to tier 3, then that saves you a lot of money in the early game. And later on in the game, when you have other armies that are running around trying to set up other... When you're trying to do like 2 herdstone regions at once, this is obviously very good. And gives you extra recruitment. And allows you to get to tier 3. Let me see. One of these I thought was like a disease or something. Yeah, malady. Winded for all non-Warriors of Chaos, Beastmen, and Norskin units in Bloodground region. So everybody starts off as if they dashed. And it gives your garrison a couple of Razor Gore to her. Small chance of a plague breaking out at the start of each turn. It will not hurt Beastmen, Warriors of Chaos, Norskins, or Nurglish units. So what's the point in getting more than 1? Faction-wide, extra dread from battles. Extra magic probably doesn't matter as much. +1 horde recruitment capacity is pretty good. But we're already getting quite a bit of that. And then this one. Reload time. I guess that means +30%, so it takes them longer to reload. So a lot less damage. So if you have a really serious thing you have to siege, Rucking Pits could be good. But I think this wins a malady. Like, this is, like, seems really good. You don't even have to ambush. It's just everyone's winded in battle. We can sell that back for X amount of gold later on. Like, we can get 1,600 gold back if we sell it, I'm pretty sure. So, no, we don't, I mean, there is no public order, but just for the record, we do get some Chaos Undivided Corruption.
Khazrak.
And then, oh, we can hire in the forest, and we can also hire from Khazrak. So that's separate hiring, too. So that means you could hire up to, when we get +3 from Khazrak, or 4, whatever the number is, we could hire 7 or 8 things on Khazrak, and we could hire whatever that number is from the Herdstone if we're in the region. That's pretty great. I think Spearmen are almost always the way to go early on. I've said this with tons of other factions. Just these entry-level garbage units, you just want the highest melee defense and the highest leadership, I think, just to let them hold the line as much as they can get. Obviously, armor is really good, too. But if the choice is... I guess they don't even give you a choice. Like, it has to be spears. But that's fine. And just as a bonus, they happen to be good against large. Now, how many of these things do we need is a question, though, too. I don't think so. If they have skirmish cav, like maybe having 2... If they have, like, pistoliers or something. I think 2 dogs is about the right number. I could see an argument for 3 dogs, but... Okay. So we'll just do it that way. We'll erect that Herdstone. We're still trying to get up here. But yeah, so if we get the Herdstone at tier 3, then we don't have to get this individual giant building. So that would be 6,000 gold. And then... we don't have to get these buildings, because I think we get most of these units. We get some gore, so really we could focus on getting the Minotaur building, or getting this chariot building. I believe. Let me just look one more time. And again, I know we're over time, but so we get 1 chariot here. We don't get any Centigores though. So that would let us hire Centigores. We get Gores with axes. We get the beasts. Yes. So I think the Centigores would still have a lot of value. That building. We don't get the pigs. Yeah, Centigores are much higher level. So Centigores still have value, but what that does is that'll open up more money for us to increase these things, which give a lot of combat bonuses. So that's the Shatterstone thing that I mentioned before, which allows you to break a free building. And then this gives us 50 dread per turn. And whenever you fight somebody, they get a penalty for the first 45 seconds right there. -10 leadership, -8 melee defense. Very, very good. And then this is also expensive, but it's another bonus you can do while you're in combat. It almost kills one of your units. It like suicides them just about if you don't end the battle in 45 seconds. So it's kind of weird. But you could use this if you could just hire back an Ungor or something, or maybe a Centigore. Maybe you could do this if you really, really needed to. And then Pile of Flesh lowers their range and greatly depletes a lot of ammunition. So not insane, but okay. But it'll open you up to be able to buy more of these utility things or buy more items. Because you don't have to buy some of these other buildings. But anyways, okay, let's go ahead and end the turn. I do think that getting the Malady is probably the best tier 1 early on, other than if you have a big... now, getting line of sight across all Bloodground regions is also, like, really, really strong in some situations. Because you do not want them coming in, sneaking up, and taking out your main place. But, okay. Let's go ahead and end it. I don't think... We'll hold on to this. We'll see, because, yeah, I do want to probably get the Herdstone thing. There's not a huge rush on that right now, because we've already got one. But for the future, we want to make sure that's leveled up. Okay. Hiring everything. Alright, it's in this turn, we'll call it. And then for the following, like I said, I know this one was a little bit more talking with me laying stuff out for you here. But the next episode's, you know, and for the rest of them are just going to be lots of action, lots of fighting. And there's a moon mechanic I didn't even mention. Well, wait, there's more. You just get a random choice every 5 or 6 turns about different buffs your army can get. But you can't, you just kind of get what you get. There's not a lot of pre-planning or anything I can explain about that until we see it. So, anyways, that's going to be it. We'll carry on here. I'm not sure which one of these we want to hit first. I feel like the north here is probably going to be a pretty good option. I don't know. Midland's already fighting us. We'll just see what's going on. But that's it. Have a good day, and we'll see you by next time. And thanks again to Nico for sponsoring this. If you'd like to sponsor a campaign, email me, strategyprofessor@gmail.com. $3 an episode, minimum 10 episodes. Or like and subscribe. That's free. That helps out a ton, too. All right, thanks. Have a good one.